Hello, today we are continuing to write equations in slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. Reminder, m is our slope, and b is our y-intercept, or where we're crossing the y-axis. So today we are going to write equations in slope-intercept form, but we're missing our y-intercept. They tell us our slope, or we can find our slope, and they give us a point with y and x. So it says step 1, identify the slope. Sometimes they'll give it to you, like they do right here. Other times we'll have to find it. Then step 2, we're going to find the y-intercept. It says you can substitute or plug in the slope and the coordinates of a point, x, y, into this equation right here, and solve it for b. Once we have b, then we can write our equation. So let's do just that. We have our equation, y equals mx plus b. And first, identify m. We know what m is. And we have our point. This point is x and y. All we're going to do is plug everything in and solve. First, we need y. Y is 3. Equal to m, and m is -4. It's touching x, so that's multiplied. X is right there, -1. And then plus b. We don't know what b is. That's what we're trying to find. So all we have to do is solve this equation. -1 times 4 is just -4. And then we need b all by itself, so I'm going to add 4 to the other side. So 3 plus 4 is 7, so b equals 7. Now that we have m right here and b right here, we can write in our equation in slope-intercept form. So our equation should read y equals m, which is -4x, plus b, plus 7. There's our answer. Let's try the same thing over here with our next point. We have the point xy and our slope, which is 1/3. So let's plug everything into the equation y equals mx plus b. So first, y is -4. M right here is 1/3 times x, which is 6, and then plus b. So let's solve it. 1/3 times 6, 1/3 times 6, 6 is really 6 over 1. So 1 times 6 is 6, 3 times 1 is 3. 6 divided by 3 is really 2. So we have -4 equals 2 plus b. And we want b all by itself, so I need to subtract this 2 over to the other side. So we have b, and -2 and a -4, they're all negatives. Add them up, that's -6. So b is -6. So our equation in the form y equals mx plus b, y equals m, which is 1/3, x, plus b, in this case, minus b, -6. There's our equation. All we're doing today is trying to write this equation y equals mx plus b. But this one, they don't give us our slope. First, we need to identify our slope. So in this case, we need to use our slope formula. So I'm going to label my points. X, y, that's my first point, second point, and plug them into my equation. So we have y2 minus y1, so -1 minus 5. And then on the bottom, x2 minus x1, or 2 minus a -2. Those two negatives, again, make it positive. So our slope, -1 minus 5, that's really -6. They're all negatives. 2 plus 2 is 4. But we can simplify this. We can divide by 2 to give us -3 over 2. So there's our slope, and we have 2 points. If we're going to use the equation y equals mx plus b to substitute in or plug in y, our slope, and x, you could really use this first point, which I'm going to do, or you could use the second point. It doesn't matter, you'll get the same answer in the end. So first, y is 5. Our slope right here is negative 3 over 2 times x, which is negative 2, and then plus b. That's what we're trying to figure out. So let's solve this. Multiply negative 3 over 2 times negative 2. Well, that's really negative 2 over 1. A negative times a negative makes a positive. 3 times 2 is 6. 2 times 1 is 2, but we can simplify that. 6 divided by 2 is really just 3. So we have 5 equals 3 plus b. And get b by itself, so I'm going to have to subtract 3 to get rid of that 3. 2 equals b. So our equation, it'll be y equals m, which is negative 3 over 2, x, plus b, which is plus 2. Next, we're going to do the same thing, but just using a graph. So our goal is still to get y equals mx plus b. First, let's find m, our slope. So from our graph, you could use your equation. I'm just going to count. Rise 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we're running 1, 2. Reminder, slope's always a fraction. 6 divided by 2 is just 3. And then b, we can't see where this is crossing the y-axis, so we know it's going to be up here somewhere, but instead we need to use our equation to figure it out. So we're going to plug in x and y and m into our equation. It doesn't matter which point you use. I'm going to use this point because they're smaller numbers. If you wanted to use that point, you'll get the same answer. So this is going to be x and y. So y is 2 equals m, which is 3, times x, which is negative 2, to figure out b. So 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. And then to get b by itself, add 6 to the other side. So we have b, and then 6 plus 2 is 8. So our equation, this is now we know is 8. Our equation is y equals our slope, which is 3, x plus b, or plus 8. And that makes sense because if we count up here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 would be about where this line would cross the y-axis if it were to continue. Next, let's do the same thing over here. We're looking for our equation, y equals mx plus b. So let's first find m. I'm going to start here. I'm rising or going down negative 2. And we're running 1, 2, 3, 4. I can divide by 2. So negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1. 4 divided by 2 is 2. So there's our slope. We don't know what b is. I'm going to use this point because it has a 0 in it. I like adding and subtracting and multiplying by 0. So this is x and this is y. So y first is 0. M is negative 1/2 times x, which is 1, and then plus b. So this one, negative 1/2 times 1 is just still negative 1/2. Anything times 1 is just that number. And then we want b by itself, so I'm going to have to add 1/2 to the other side. So 0 plus 1/2 is 1/2, or 0.5 if you prefer. So our equation is y equals mx plus b, or negative 1/2 x plus b, which is 1/2. Next, this is the same thing we did the other day. looking at writing an equation in the form y equals mx plus b. And here are questions that are going to help lead us to the answer. So first it says, what are the 2 points? Reminder, this is f of x is a fancy way of saying y. So our point is really x, which is -2, and y, also -2. And then this one, xy, is 4, -8. So then it says, what's the slope? First we need to find our slope. So I'm going to label my points xy first point, xy second point, and plug them into our slope equation. So y2, which is -8, minus y1, which is a -2, those two negatives make a positive, one negative from the equation and one from the y. And then on the bottom, x2 minus x1, or 4 minus x1, which is a -2. Again, two negatives make a positive. So our slope, -8 plus 2, that's -6. And 4 plus 2 is also 6. So 6 over 6 is 1, and it's negative. So there's our slope, m. Now we need to find b. Well, we can't look at our points. Remember, back to yesterday, we looked for 0, b. Neither of our points have that. So we need to pick one to plug it in to our equation here. I'm just going to pick this first point because they're both -2. So y is -2. Our slope right here is -1. X right here is also -2. And then plus b. -1 times -2 is a positive 2. And then we want b all by itself. We're going to subtract 2. Be careful. Some of you might think this is 0. This is really -4 equals b. So our equation would be y equals m, which is -1x, plus b, or in this case, minus b, minus 4. This is what we're looking for, our equation. All we had to find was m and b, slope and y-intercept. Now this next slide is the same information, just given to us in the form of a table. So it says, write an equation that represents the linear function, linear meaning a straight line in the form y equals mx plus b, in the table or mapping diagram. So we know x and f of x is really a fancy way of saying y. This is an xy table. So if you wanted to write these as points, this would be 1, -1. This would be 0, 1. And this would be -1, 3. So it says first pick 2 points and then find the slope. Well, pick 2 points. I'm just going to pick the first 2. And let's find the slope. So first, we need to label our points. I'm going to say this is our first point, and then this xy is our second point. So first it says y2 right here, which is 1, minus y1 right here, which is -1. Those two negatives make a positive. Then on the bottom, x2, which is 0, minus x1 right here, which is 1. So 1 plus 1 is 2. 0 minus 1 is -1. And 2 divided by 1 is 2, and it's negative. So we found our slope, m, right here. So we have m. All we need to do is find b. Now we could plug in x and y and our slope to find b, but didn't we learn the other day 0, b would also tell us where our y-intercept is? Because b is our y-intercept. So this point right here in the middle actually has a 0 there, so that point 0, 1 is really 0, b. We don't even have to solve anything. We know b is 1. So our equation is just y equals m, which is -2x, plus b, plus 1. That was a shortcut way instead of plugging it in like we did here, x and y, and solving. This point, however, these 2 points didn't have an x as 0, so we couldn't use that. This one does have an x as 0, so we can find b. If we want to think about this right away on our next problem, this is x, this is y. Here, this point right here, x, y, this is 0, comma, b. So b in this case is 0, because it's the point 0, 0. It's going to go through the origin. The only thing we need to find is our slope, m, using our slope equation. I'm going to use this point, 0, 0, because I like adding 0, and this point, -2, -1, because they're small numbers. So I'm going to say this is my first point, x, y, first point, and x, y, second point. So plugging into my slope formula, y2 minus y1, so y2 is 0, minus y1, which is a -1, so 2 negatives make a positive, and then x2 minus x1, 0 minus a -2, again 2 negatives make a positive. 0 plus 1 is 1, 0 plus 2 is 2, so our slope is 1/2. So our equation y equals mx plus b, y equals 1/2 x plus b, which is right here, 0. For this next problem, it says decide whether the 3 points lie on the same line. So if they're on the same line, that means that they have to form a straight line. Explain how you know. If the points do lie on the same line, write an equation of the line that passes through all the points. So the only way for me to know if these are actually on the same line is to look at our slopes. From this point to this point, our slope should be the same. Same rise, same run. Same from here to here. Same rise, same run. So we're going to use that information to help us determine if these 3 points lie in the same line, same straight line. So first, I'm going to find the slope between these two. Then I'm going to find the slope between these two. If the slopes are the same, then we should have a nice straight line. So first, I'm going to use these 2 points, 3, 7, and -2, -8. And I'm going to plug them into my slope formula. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So let's label our points. xy, this is my first point. xy, that's my second point. And plug them in. So y2, right here, which is -8, minus y1, which is 7. Same thing on the bottom, x2 minus x1, -2 minus 3. These are all negatives, -8 minus 7, so add them up, that's -15. -2 minus 3, that's a -5. 2 negatives make a positive. 15 divided by 5 is 3. So our slope from this point to this point is 3, or 3 over 1. Now we're going to find the slope between our next 2 points, these two. So that first point there is -2, -8, and the second one is 7, -19. So I'm going to label these xy, that's my first point, xy, second point. And let's find our slope. y2 minus y1, so -19 minus a -8, those 2 negatives make a positive. And then x2 minus x1, 7 minus a negative, not -9, -2. Those make a positive as well. So -19 plus 8, there's more negatives, there's 11 more negatives, and 7 plus 2 is 9. So right away I can tell these are not the same slope. So this is telling me that my first slope is 3, maybe it goes like this, and my second slope goes negative. So positive, negative, these are not going to be on the same line. So we can say no, not on the same line. Or they do not form a straight line. Flip over to our last 2 problems. Both of these problems that we're doing, we're trying to get an equation y equals mx plus b, like we've been doing. It's just scenario based. So it says your gym membership costs $33 per month after an initial membership fee. So we're going to pay $33 each month. You paid a total of $228 for 6 months. Write an equation that gives a total cost as a function of the length of your gym membership in months. Function and equation both tell you you're going to write an equation that looks like that. And then the second part would be find the total cost after 9 months. So first we want an equation, then we want the total cost. So if we think about this equation, we're going to pay $33 per month. Reminder, M is what we're paying multiple times, B is what we're paying one time. Well, this $33 per month, we're not going to just pay one time, we're paying that multiple times each month. One time this month, one time next month. So 33 is going to be our M, or our slope. We don't know what B is, but we do know we paid $228 for 6 months of going to the gym. Well, if we know our slope is $33, M is 33, it's $33 per month. So X must be the number of months, $33 times the number of months. So here they tell us 6 months, so this is really a point, X, Y. X is 6 months of service. You're going to pay a total of $228. And that makes sense. How much we pay per month plus our initial one-time fee would give us our Y, which is our total cost. So we have, looking at our equation, we know what Y is right here, 228. We know what our slope is right there, 33. Times X, which is 6, we can now figure out what B is. B is our one-time initial membership fee that we have to pay. We just don't know what that is. So let's use a calculator to multiply. 33 times 6 gives me 198. And then 228 on the other side. So to get B by itself, I'm just going to subtract 198. So 228 minus 198 is 30. So what did we just find? B is our one-time fee for the year or whatever. One-time fee you have to pay to be a part of the gym, which is $30. So our equation, Y equals mx plus b, M is 33x plus B right here, which is 30. So that's part A. We wrote an equation. We found M and B. Same thing we did in our problems earlier. And then find the total cost after 9 months. Well, months, it costs $33 per month, so months must be X. $33 per month. So we're going to plug in 33 times 9 and add 30. Well, 33 times 9 is going to give me 297, but then plus 30 gives me 327. For 9 months of going to this gym, it would cost you $327. So in this problem, they gave us our slope and a point. Now, on our next problem, we need to figure out what are they giving us. Are they giving us a slope and a point, or are they giving us 2 points where we could find the slope? It says, in bicycle motocross or BMX racing, racers purchase a 1-year membership to a track. So that 1-year membership is probably a one-time fee of some amount of money, B. That's our one-time fee. Reminder, because we're trying to get to the equation Y equals mx plus b. They also pay an entry fee for each race at the track. So entry fee for each race, that's something you have to pay multiple times. That's probably B. Each time you race, you have to pay that. So we don't know what M is, and we don't know what B is. So they're probably going to give us a couple points where we can find M and we could find B. It says one racer paid a total of $125 for 5 races. A second racer paid $170 for 8 races. So they want to know how much does the track membership cost. So that membership was B. They want to know what's B. And what's the entry fee per race, which is M. What we're paying multiple times every single race. Now if you think of our equation, entry fee per race, so M is our slope, what we're paying per race. So the number of races must be X. So after 5 races, so we just figured out X is our number of races because we're paying the entry fee per race. 5 races would cost a total of $125. 8 races would cost $170. So Y would give us our total cost, which makes sense. The entry fee per race plus your one-time fee would give you your total cost, Y. So first let's find our slope. Here's my first point, here's my second point, and let's plug them into our slope formula. X2 minus x1. There we go. So our slope, y2 minus y1, 170 minus 125. And then on the bottom, x2 minus x1, or just 8 minus 5. So all I did was plug those numbers into my slope formula. And on the top, I get 45. 8 minus 5 should give me 3. Move this out of the way. X was the number of races. 45 divided by 3 should give me 15. So M is our entry fee. It's going to cost $15 per race. And then that's M, that's what we're paying multiple times. And then we need to find B, what's our beginning one-time fee to even try and race. So we know our slope. We also know we have this equation, y equals mx plus b. I'm just going to use this first point because it's smaller numbers and plug them in. Y is 125. M is, what's M? 15. Times x, which is 5. And then plus b. 15 times 5 gives me 75. And then we want b by itself, so subtract 75. So 125 minus 75 should give us 50. So our beginning fee is $50, or that's our track membership cost. That's a one-time fee, the membership. There we go. So we found out M and B. If they wanted an equation, it would be y equals 15x plus 50, because we know M and B, both of those. There we go. Your homework is a worksheet. Good luck.